the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Austin, and it is once again my pleasure to be back again with another quality program for all of you. I am excited to be here again with another amazing young professional here and also a business sponsor. I can't believe how many sponsors who have come out to support the 2018 BMWOC podcast, and I am thankful for each and every one of them, particularly my corporate sponsors, because they really, really stand out and show their support for this effort. Just in case you didn't know, the purpose of the BMWOC podcast is not only to share our industry information, but we are encouraging you, the working professionals, students, and other enthusiasts of learning more about your industry and the trends and how you can make a bigger impact by choosing the industry of your choice. So please be sure to take a moment and look at all of the pages that we're going to have here on the platform. We have so many different amazing people from all over the country and so many different areas of industries for you to listen to. So take a piece of paper, pen, reach out to them, contact them, attend their events, buy their books, because they have gone out of their way to share their information with you, and we would like to make this a stronger community. One of the first things we would like to do before we get started is to thank our corporate sponsors, which are Cat Serrano LLC, Cheryl Wood Empowers, Concern and Learning, Evangelism Radio, Genesis Preferred Solutions, J Coach International, Nels Tax Help, My Financial Home, Power, STCI, and the Student Teacher, along with our other business affiliate sponsors and all of the participants that is on our podcast today. So, going forward, with that said, we have another corporate sponsor here on the platform today, and we have Simone Walden, who is the owner of the Student Teacher LLC, and I just can't wait to talk to her about what the Student Teacher is and everything she does. She is a native of Northampton County, North Carolina, where she attended her public schools there, and during the 5 years after graduation, she pursued her education at 3 different colleges, only to find herself back where she started, which was at Fayetteville State University. She graduated there with a Bachelor in Arts degree in English and Literature. And 10 years later, she obtained her master's in arts degree in Christian studies with an emphasis on youth ministry from Grand Canyon University. She is known as a student teacher because she worked to help bring accountability. She coaches, she writes, she's a speaker, and she considers herself to be an Amazon author with her book that she's going to talk about here today. So, Simone, welcome to the podcast, because we're going to let people read the rest of your bio while we get to all this good stuff that you're going to be talking about today.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really, really do appreciate it. I consider it an honor, and thank you for everything that you're doing for the podcast and for people of color.
No problem at all. So go ahead and let's start with an introduction of who you are, where you're from. I know we know you from Fayetteville, but just give us a background of your history and how did you get to where you are right now?
Okay, so I am a native of North Carolina, born and raised there. I moved to Maryland about 3 years ago. Really not a plan that I had initially, but it just so happened that this is where God needed me to be, and so I was able to come. I am a public school teacher. I've been teaching for 13 years, and throughout the course of teaching in public school, it was really to just get a job fresh out of college because I didn't have a lot of money, and my parents didn't have a lot of money, and so I was just trying to get a job. And so my first couple of years of teaching, my heart wasn't in it. I didn't really like kids. Kids didn't really like me, and so we bumped heads a lot. I learned a lot with the content because I didn't like kids. I perfected the craft of teaching and my discipline. And so I knew how to teach reading. I knew how to teach writing. I knew how to get them to pass the test. But I just didn't like people that were sitting in front of me. And so throughout my early 20s, just going through a lot of things with relationships and low self-esteem and low self-worth, which is why my heart was so turned against kids, because when I look back on it now, I saw so much of me in those kids, and I didn't like me, so I didn't like anything that resembled me. And once the Lord started turning my heart, He really started allowing me to see some of the things the kids were going through, and I started to take on the motherly role of these are my children, and so I have to take good care of them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and academically while they were in my care. And so that's what I started doing. I started reading a lot. I would pray a lot for the kids. And when I came to Maryland, the student teacher was birthed out of my burden to see kids whole, to see kids being treated fair, to see kids being loved on and treated as if they were important to somebody else outside of their family. And so this is how the student teacher came. I started praying and believing God for the school system. My first book was written about the school system, praying and believing God for teachers, administrators, parents, students, the school system in a whole. And so now I want to give back and encourage as many people that I can, especially parents, to take an initiative into their child's education and make sure they know what's going on in the school system, to attend school events, to be a part of school functions, so you can know who's exactly standing in front of your child on a daily basis.
Okay, wow. Thank you for being so candid to share your background in terms of what happened when you were younger and then how you got into the student teacher. I really like the fact that you kind of took it to a whole nother level and created this thing just by going to the youth and using your religious background to help with that. And so I kind of want to deep dive a little bit in how you kind of made that transition, because you mentioned earlier that there was a lot of things in the kids that you didn't like, and so you saw a lot of yourself in those kids, and
Mhm.
somehow or another the student teacher was sort of, molded and things of that nature. Can you
Mhm.
just give a little bit more background as far as like things that you saw that was positive out of that situation that caused you to make that transition and say, you know what, I think I'm gonna take my teaching and do something positive.
Okay, so um, what I saw in a lot of the kids, because initially I would have a hard time dealing with little boys. And I didn't understand why it was such a battle with little boys, but I had my own daddy issues. I had my own brother issues. I had issues with being violated as a young kid. I really didn't like boys. I didn't like them to get too close to me. And any boy that was aggressive, whether it was a student, whether it was an old man, I had a serious problem with that. And what I realized through teaching is that when I was able to actually sit down and talk to the young boys, that they were very harmless, that they were misunderstood, that they weren't attackers, that they weren't trying out to get me, but they was having a moment or I falsely accused them of something. And even with the little girls, even though they could be mouthy or disrespectful, there was still a brokenness in them. There was still a genuine goodness in them. And when I started seeing underneath what they were showing me, underneath what they were showing the kids out in the open, it was like, wow, I really love these kids. I really love this person. I really love this girl. I really love this boy. And my heart just started turning. It's like, I think I can make a positive difference because when I start to talk to them outside of taking off the teacher role and saying, I want you to write this essay, I want you to read this book, outside of that, they were able to talk to me. It was person versus person, adult versus student, where I was able to pull in them and really mentor and encourage them that it's not necessarily about reading and passing the test and getting a good score, but as a person, what habits are you going to form as a person that's going to carry you throughout your life when you have to go on the job to take a test or when you want to become a professional, whatever you want to do, whether you want to own your own business, whatever you decide that you're going to do, how are you going to handle that when you have pressure? How are you going to handle that when someone comes to you and you don't like it? Or what habits are you going to create right now that's going to help you to get certified or get licensed or be able to purchase certain things? What are the life skills that you need right now that's going to help you into as you grow up? And those are the things I started to see, and those are the things I started to hone in. I realized that with the kids, they loved they love Miss Walden, but they love Miss Walden not more so as a person and not necessarily the teacher.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you pretty much just kind of broke through whatever was on the surface to get to the real person and just connect with
Mhm.
that person, and then you realize
Mhm.
all everything else is just a facade that they're just
Mhm.
kind of putting on because either they're under pressure from other students or maybe being bullied
Mhm.
or something going on personally at home. And a lot of us don't see that, and you were able to see through that, for some reason. And so
Mhm.
you just started using your teaching ability, and I'm just kind of paraphrasing for those just to make sure that, people understand exactly how you did this breakthrough, because a lot of us
Mhm.
don't do that. We don't go underneath the surface. We sort of get defensive and we sort of, say, "Oh, I don't want to deal with that kid because he's bad trouble,"
Mhm.
or something like that.
Mhm.
But we're not really understanding the person and what they're going through and why they are acting in that behavior and things like that. But, I want to congratulate you on that, because we need more people like yourself that's doing these types of things so that we can, get to our kids and say, what are you going to do to help yourself when you come out of high school?
Mhm.
There's so many different situations out there. I can't even name them all, but
Yeah.
I just think that this is just another avenue for us to pull together and come up with, something like what you're doing. So, outside of that, are you involved like in the community with this same concept, using the student teacher to help other kids outside of the school system?
So when I was in North Carolina, I worked at a charter school, and it's a little different here in Maryland. I believe there's politics everywhere, but it's a little more political here, and people are not as I haven't connected with people. I would say that. So I haven't quite found the other people that I could connect with on a deeper level to bring this into the school system. But when I worked in North Carolina, um, the principal and um, my curriculum director allowed me and one of my friends to open up a. My friend had a girls group, and I had the parent portion of it. And so everything that I was doing with the kids in school, I was doing it with their parents, and they allow us to open up the school on Saturdays to come and host these events. And sometimes we do it at the school on Saturdays, and sometimes we meet up at other locations. And so now what I do is I just create my own events. I've created my own events, and I'm
Nice.
actually on a tour right now called the Heart
Hmm.
of a Teacher Tour, going around the different cities, empowering parents, getting parents involved, getting students involved, getting people in the community involved, and say, hey, we really have to take a second look at what's going on in the school system. Because what I found out is that a lot of teachers would love to do, a lot of teachers have started to do it, but because everything is so political and because you got to stick to scores and testing, that they feel like they can't do it. But I feel like the fact that I do it, I'm able to get more accomplished with the kid, the person, versus the student. And so I think fear has gripped a lot of people, and they feel like, they can't talk about their faith, or, they can't do anything outside of what is scripted for them to do or say. And so a lot of people have shied away from it. And so that's why now I take it out outside of the school system per se here, and just do
Hmm.
my own meetups around the city and around different states.
Nice. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm just so glad you're doing that. I personally think that we need different type of programs that help people feel more comfortable with, opening up,
Mhm.
asking for help, asking questions. And you certainly have developed a program where kids and parents can do that.
Mhm.
I find that parents are a lot of shut off because, we're set in our ways. We already been and done that. And we
Mhm.
want parents to start, getting back to getting into the lives of the kids and understanding what they're doing, who they're talking to, and how they're
Mhm.
progressing with their behavior, because they learn from life, they learn from everybody else. And if there's a
Mhm.
program out there that's generating positive influence and the parents are also involved, I think that
Mhm.
makes for a stronger family, and would really love to help promote that. So definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely love. So on top of that, you also, according to your bio here, that you also help new authors craft their stories and write books. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay, so I always share with people up front that I'm a Christian author, I'm a Christian believer. And sometimes, especially with the school system, people feel like you have to leave your faith out the door, but I believe because of what's on the inside of me, I go everywhere with him. So if I go in the school system, he's there. And so one thing that I want to really pinpoint now is helping new authors create their stories, Christian authors, Christian believers, and I'll help people who doesn't necessarily believe the same thing. But when it comes to Christian authors, being able to share their story without losing their faith, without losing their voice, because it depends on which company or who you work with. Sometimes they want you to take out your faith, but when I help people, I allow them to be as transparent, as honest as they can. And with one of my programs called Writing It to Write It, dealing with people going through their past and dealing with tumultuous things. So when they actually write their story, when they craft their story, they're not writing it out of a place of anger. They're not writing out of a place of rejection. They're not writing it out of a place of low self-esteem or low self-worth. But they have overcame those things in the program. And so when they write their book, you're seeing the victory. You're seeing the outcome. You're seeing the testimony of all the things that they went through. So my program is helping new authors is truly that those people who are new and novice authors, really helping them craft their stories. And I really want to help parents craft their stories. I really want to be able to help teachers craft their stories. I really want to be able to help students craft their stories. And so you mentioned the fact that how, the
Mm-hmm.
student teacher helps parents and
Right,
students.
right.
And that's the student teacher is family oriented, getting parents, getting students involved, getting the family involved. And so when you have a family project, or when, the parent is involved, what the child is doing, or the child has some some say so in what the parent is doing and giving advice, it makes for a much greater impact. And so
Right.
it's really to help, those who are new in the writing field, not necessarily those who are seasoned or have published a few books, but usually the new and the novice authors.
Yeah. So how many books were you able to, and they don't have to be traditional books, but how many books would you say that you have helped craft and help people develop?
So right now I've only did one book so far. I helped one lady, her and her husband out of Georgia. They contacted me and I helped them craft their book. My first coaching program starts in 2 weeks, and so we have some ladies that signing up, and so then I'll be able to have more under my belt. And what I want to do
Mhm,
first is to make sure I was able to
mhm.
successfully publish my own books because
Yeah, I was going to ask you
pub
about talk about you got what, 2 books, 3 books?
I actually have 6 books now. So I
6 books.
published
Whoa.
my yeah, I published my first book um, April 21st of 2017, and as of today, March the 6th, I have 5 books and a manual action guide book that goes with my first book now. So I just wanted to make sure that I was able to produce quality work before I stepped out and say, hey, now I want to help someone else.
I know that's right. So just give us a little snippet about maybe 2 of your books that you've written that is related to this podcast, and maybe one of them could be related to something else that has nothing to do with your profession, but you just wanted to write it.
Okay, so my first book is standing on His words. It was prayers and devotionals that I initially started praying on an educational prayer call on Sunday nights. We was on an educational prayer call for about 6 months. And then the Lord told me to take it online to Facebook, and so that's what we did, and we started praying those on Facebook January. And by April, we had the first edition. It's called Standing on His Words, Prayers and Devotionals Every Educator Can Pray. That's the teacher's edition. The student edition for the actual student that can have their own book, that's probably going to come out towards the end of the year. But that's my very first book is 31 days of devotions that you're going to apply to your life, your everyday life. And then
Mhm.
those are prayers ranging from prayers for bus drivers, administrators, secretaries,
Nice.
school resource officers. It just covers a gamut of, positions and titles in the school system. And so that's my very first book. And then the manual and the action guide is it corresponds with that book. So for those who are in the school system or parents, they can leave that at school or at their job, and then they can have the workbook now where they actually put into action what they're supposed to do. Because a lot of times we'll tell people to pray, but after you pray, there's a follow through. You have to actually do
Mhm.
something about it. And so that's what those 2 books are about. And then my third book is called My Heart Under a Microscope, and it's talking about it's the first part of it is a love letter to my future husband, and
Oh.
it and the other part is uh, goodbye salutations to my exes, and it gives a little bit of my
Oh.
background story of being um, sexually violated and how the Lord just kind of brought me out of it, and how He's preparing me for my husband. So that's called My
Oh,
Heart Under a
wow.
Microscope.
Oh,
Yep.
wow. I mean, that's amazing, Simone, for you to have written so many books with so many different aspects of your life. And I'm gonna tell you, everybody need to look down at the bottom of this page and click on all six of these links that we're gonna have on there so that they can look at these books. Because let me tell you something, we all have trials and tribulations, but we will never grow unless we understand where people have been, because people
Mhm.
have done and been there and coped and survived. And a lot of times it just takes just cracking open a book and just looking at
Mhm.
and reading and understanding, or even just listening to this podcast, what people have gone through. And it
Mhm.
just seems like it's just so amazing just to hear your story, because a lot of folks are sitting at home stuck right now, not knowing what to do and how to get out of it. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping, just like you, that these interviews, these podcasts that I'm doing is going to be a help for someone to pick
Mhm.
up a book. So you have Heart Under Microscope, you have prayers and devotionals every educator can pray. Come on now. There's no excuse. You got six books now. If you're not teaching something, I don't know what's going on. So, so, so talk about like some of the other events that you are actively in right now that you want people to know about that's happening in the Washington, D.C., Maryland area, or abroad, that maybe they want to travel down this way to see you speak, or maybe attend an event, or maybe have you come out and speak. So talk a little bit about what your extra curricular activities are about.
Okay, and I am definitely always open to come and speak, whether it's a professional development at a school, whether it's minister at a church, or to do one of the courses that's actually out of my book. But we have the Heart of a Teacher tour. It's still going on. So our second stop is going to be in Raleigh, North Carolina. March 24th. It's going to be at the Hyatt House Hotel from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I will be here in Maryland March 17th, 2018, at the Legacy Room Meeting Place. It's a ministry event. It's called Jesus, Jeans, and Jesus. And the theme is Are You Free and Secret? Just sharing testimonies of people who have dealt with things privately that they're now free from, sharing their experiences and sharing how they have been able to be free from it when nobody else is looking. So that is March the 17th. And then leading up to our symposium. I'm having a symposium in June 23rd, here in Jessup, Maryland. It's called the Heart of a Teacher Symposium. And we have 9 amazing speakers that's going to come from different aspects, different careers, different expertise, sharing what does it mean to have the heart of a teacher. Because a lot of people have the content and the knowledge, but their heart is not in it regardless of what they're teaching. And we're going to just share what does it really mean to have the heart of a teacher so we can make a greater impact in the areas in which we actually teach, whether it's school-age children or it's adult students.
Wow, fabulous. And you know what, guys? I'm going to have this information on her page as well. So please make sure that you click on that, look at her books, buy her books, check out the activities that she just talked about. Some of them are going to be in March, and at the airing of this podcast, it'll be in May. But there is another one she said that's coming up in June. Or you can contact her directly and schedule to do something. We still have 6 more months in 2018, so it's never too late
Mm-hmm.
to get that started. And so again, it's how you can become the student teacher by doing what Simone is doing and just reaching out to her and picking her brain for this information so that you can connect with people like Simone on here and just help one another, lift us up, and especially our young folks, our kids. So definitely for that. So Simone, I want to thank you for being a business corporate sponsor and supporting the movement, supporting the podcast, and being so candid and open to share your story with people who are listening to your podcast right now. If you want to leave us with maybe three pieces of really good advice that you really want to share to those who are listening and anything that you talked about, and also give your contact information.
Okay. So the first piece of advice I want to give to you is one, it's never too late. Don't ever give up. Don't feel like you messed up too many times that now it's just too late. It doesn't matter your age, it doesn't matter your gender, it doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter the family that you come from. It is never too late. And don't give up. Just don't give up and believe in yourself. And I know these things may sound cliche, but truly don't believe in yourself. Get you some words, get you some affirmation that you speak over your life that you can then start doing the work so you can have the manifestation. My favorite quote that I always say that I coin is outdo the best you from yesterday. So don't look at the worst you from yesterday, but look at the best you from yesterday and outdo that the next day. And you will continue to see growth every single day. My contact information would be Simone Walden. .com is my website, and you can find me at Simone Walden on LinkedIn, Periscope, Facebook, Instagram, and you can follow us on the Student Teacher Facebook page every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're on at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, praying and believing God for the educational school system.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for being on the podcast. It was definitely a pleasure talking with you today.
It was a pleasure talking with you too, and thank you so much for everything that you do.
Awesome.